Howdy do y'all, this is John, and today we are talking about Saw X, a movie that came out a little while ago in theaters, and is also now on VOD. And in Saw X, it deals with John Kramer, who is informed of this miracle medicine that will help cure his cancer. But as it turns out, the doctors, they're all frauds, and they didn't actually do anything to help him out at all. And so John Kramer does what he always does best and decides to get revenge in the most sadistic way possible. Okay, so getting into it, what I liked about the movie. I liked how the movie, instead of just copying and pasting the very first Saw movie, it does its own thing with the Saw premise. Saw X, rather than just doing the first Saw all over again like a lot of the Saw sequels do, from what I've been told, they instead make this a revenge story. Because in the first Saw, it's just these two guys in a dirty, beaten up, broken down bathroom trying to figure out a way to get themselves out. But the only way that they can easily find out is sawing their own feet off. With this movie, while all the traps are still there, it's a revenge story. John Kramer was wronged by these guys, and he's out for vengeance. And speaking of John Kramer, Topher Grace's performance is really good. And speaking of John Kramer, Tobin Bell's performance as Jonathan Kramer is really good. Tobin Bell portrays John Kramer as he did in all the previous Saw movies. And this guy's really good. Tobin Bell, he's very intense in this film. But not only is he intense, but Kramer actually has some emotional moments in the film. And Tobin Bell is able to actually elevate these more emotional moments, including, his realization that he had been conned, scammed. And now let's talk about the traps here real quick. One of the reasons why, up until this film, I had never bothered to watch a sequel to Saw is because everyone that I know of who's seen the Saw sequels made the traps sound like they were gory just to be gory, and they don't elevate anything. And I believe in using gore to elevate horror, not to just be gory. With this movie, it's used to elevate. It's not gory just so they could have a bunch of blood go everywhere. So finally, a Saw sequel that utilizes gore correctly. That being said, though, it's not perfect. The first Saw, that's a horror movie classic. I even own it on 4K because it's just a great film. This movie, it's not up to the standards of the first Saw, but it's way better than what I've heard about any of the sequels. First issue I'd like to address is that the film definitely utilizes certain modern issues for the sake of just being relevant. And honestly, I think that's going to date this movie very badly. I'm not talking about social justice stuff. I'm talking about issues that are actual issues. People questioning things right now that, yes, should be questioned. And many of these issues, I would not be surprised if 5 or 10 years from now, people just don't care anymore, or they get resolved or something like that. While I enjoyed this movie, I do think that this film did ignore one crucial aspect of the first Saw that I do not think should have been ignored. Jigsaw is a psychopath. The first Saw, I felt like the two guys in that bathroom, you know, they could have been redeemed without going through this situation. Cary Elwes' character was actually going through that redemption arc. He was fixing his problems when he was kidnapped because he was doing a bad thing, but he was trying to correct them. And honestly, with both of them, I can think of worse things you can do to a human being. Granted, the one was pretty bad. I can think of worse. But this film, yeah, everyone's a POS. So I think that this movie could have benefited if they had modeled the traps off of what each of these people did. Have the surgery guy go through the surgery trap. Have the anesthesiologist go through a medicine trap. Things like that, I think, would have made the traps a bit more intense. Some of them were intense, but, you know, have elevated things. All in all, I think this was actually a good entry in the Saw series. It's not as good as the first film. The first film will always be the classic Saw. For what it's worth, I think we finally got a worthy sequel to Saw, because some of the stuff I heard about those sequels just turned me off. I never bothered to watch them. This one I finally decided to give a chance, and I enjoyed it, although not as much as the first one. I'm going to give Saw X a 7. That's all the time I have for today. Please hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Please also subscribe if you're new to the channel. And as always, please remember, the Bodetsky will return. Hello everybody. This is just a quick reminder that my crowdfunding campaign is live, and I highly encourage everyone to please donate to it and make the movie happen. So please donate whatever you can and help get the film made.